Saradam Devim Ramakrishnan Jagadguru Padapatme Tayo Shritva Pranamami Muhurmuhu. So we should continue with our study of karma, karma yoga, and how we must understand and try to practice the whole idea of karma. As you said, morning, how did it all start? Avidya, Kam, Karma, then Janma, Sukha Dukkha, Punarjanma, Karma, Sukha Dukkha. Again, the cycle continues. In that, we also studied, that was my personal angle. We also studied that we go to the universal cosmic level, how it all started. With Anna Dvavanti Bhutani, Parjanya Danna Sambhava. And finally it comes to that Tasmat Sarvagatam Brahma Nityam Yajna Pratishtham. And Sri Krishna advises us one thing. He says, Tasmat, therefore, Asaktaha Satatam Karyam Karma Samachara Asakto Hyacharan Karma Parmapnoti Purushaha. Therefore, Tasmat Asakta Satatam Karma. Be unattached and always perform the prescribed duties or actions. Because a person who performs action when unattached attains the highest liberation. Asakto hi acharan karma prapnoti purusha. In other words, by a simple performance of action in a right way, in a detached way, one attains the highest liberation. Param apnoti purusha. In our scriptures, param is often used to mean liberation or Brahman or Mukti, param. So very clearly he says that by a performance of unattached action, this is the mystery that we have to understand. Ramakrishna, of course, puts it very in a homely language. Says what is working with detached action. He says that just as when you want to cut the jackfruit, you smear your hand with oil and then cut the jackfruit. Otherwise, the white liquid or milk of the jackfruit is so sticky, it won't let you cut the vegetable or fruit. Same way he says, have detachment. What is detachment? Does it mean that I don't have any interest in a very uninteresting way, like machine should I work? Or should I know in the deepest core of my heart that whatever I am doing it as an instrument of God, and whatever I am going to perform or get out of it will also be a result of God's grace or God's power. I am only an instrument. This instrumentality idea is to be understood. In fact, in his Karma Yoga lecture, Swami Vivekananda says that in order to perform Karma Yoga, it can be done in two ways. One is that you do it as the Jnana way, knowledge way, and there is the bhakti way. So, what is knowledge way? Knowledge way is that you presume that you are not the doer at all. You are like the pure self, unattached. What is working then? Body and mind, with all their faculties, all their capacities, they are working. But this working is also to be understood in the sense that there is, I am only a separate thing. I am not really interested or connected with that. So I follow it like a seer, like a witness. But assuming this kind of attitude is not very easy. In fact, it's much easier if you perform it as a bhakti way, or as a that there is a Lord, there is a master who has given me some work, and I do it and I report everything to him. I also tell it is your work that I am doing. It's much easier. The Jnana way requires that a person is almost like a Jivan Mukta. Then only he can possibly perform that. Another way that I am actually, there is a universal yajna that is happening. I am a part of that yajna. So this perception must come, but very often our mind comes down to the ego level, we come down to the level of calculations. So performing that becomes very difficult. So the highest ideal is also kept in one teaching. Swami Vivekananda says there are two tendencies in the human beings. One is to live the ideal as it is and raise our mind to that. Another is to bring down the ideal, to drag it down and try to compromise there. We should not try to, we should not become a victim to the second tendency. We should always try to come to the first tendency. If I am not able to follow the ideal, I accept it. I am not able to follow the ideal. It is too high for me. So I find a way out to reach that highest. Or I accept where I am. I only say, maybe by doing all this slowly, I will overcome my lower tendencies. I shall overcome my desires for the external world, for enjoyments. And one day I will discover that I am only an instrument in the Lord's hand. So it's acceptance and then slowly making a progress. Very clearly, it is an ideal which leads to God realization or self realization. Because God realization and self realization are not two different things. What is Atman and what is Brahman are two different things. This is something we have to remind ourselves very clearly. It is uniquely, from the Sanatana Dharma angle, because in the other traditions, often God and I are separate. In fact, very, very separate. But when it comes to our understanding, which is much older, much deeper, I would say. So here it said, essentially we are same. There are three major schools of thought in our understanding: Dvaita, Vashishta Dvaita, and Advaita. Somehow in India, we always have had deep philosophical thinking from the beginning. We do not know how this land was blessed with that. How come we did not get caught by, there were like fights between various sects. In his Swamiji's lectures, I think given in Madras possibly, he says that there is this great change happened. Forever the Indian mind turned towards that when it discovered the fact, when there comes the Rig Veda, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahudha Vadanti. Truth is one. There are Vipraha, those who are learned, they call it differently. So there are various ways to reach the same goal. This particular thing did not permit so much of philosophical quarrels or even other things which happened in other cultural things or other traditions. What are these three things? Dvaita. Dvaita is God is separate and I am separate. In his famous lecture, Swami says one thing. He says, the great teacher of Advaita is the great Madhva Muni in the south, Madhvacharya ji. He was almost 800 years back. In Udupi area in Karnataka, he established one Krishna temple later on. And there is a place close to that, it is known as Pajaka, 5 kilometers from there, Pajaka Kshetra. He was born in Pajaka, and there were many great stories told about him. How, even as a child, he had extraordinary physical strength. He could lift one store in the house which is used for masala, which even 20 people may find it hard to lift. He would lift it. And there are other things. In fact, some of these things are preserved in this house. I've been to that house once. That is in Pajaka. Pajaka is a small town, a village. Even today it's a village. But they are very, very closed. People belonging to that sampradaya, they mainly most of the teachings are in the Kannada language. Sanskrit is there, but very less. The translations are not many. But one thing is that he is known as the teacher of Advaita, Dvaita, the Dvaita Muni, Madhva Muni. But very strange. I'll tell you why it is strange. I'll come to it later. Second is the great teacher of Vashishta Dvaita, who is Ramanujacharya, Sri Ramanujacharya. He was born about 1000 years back. He was born in Sri Perumbudur, which is in Tamil Nadu. Now it is known for a wrong reason. That is where some 25-30 years back, Rajiv Gandhi was blown into pieces by the suicide bomber or suicide person. So that happened in Sri Perumbudur. There was a public meeting, and it was a big small town. In that there is a temple where he used to worship. Opposite that is the house where he was born 1000 years back. He also traveled to Kanchipuram, which is close to that, and then he spent major part of his life in Srirangam. Though in between, because of the Shaiva, some kings who were little narrow-minded, he had to go away to today's Karnataka. In those days, it was not Karnataka. It was some other area he has gone away. That was about 12 years. But he came back, he lived for till the age of 120. It is there in Srirangam, his Samadhi is there. So he taught mainly what we call as love for God, and he said God and I are like part of an eternal something. I am Vashishta Advaiti. So Dvaiti or Advaiti, but Vashishta Rupena, in a very special way. Whereas Madhvacharya says that I and God are eternally separate. And then the great Shankaracharya, who said essentially I and God, they're not two things. He also was born in South. The first Karnataka, the second one in Tamil Nadu, and third is in Kerala, Kaladi. He was born in 700 AD. And he is considered the one of the best or the most well-known Acharya of Advaita Vedanta. You know, Swami Vivekananda says, one thing you should understand, these Acharyas were not founders of these philosophies. These philosophies existed eternally, much before even their coming. But they were the great expounders of those philosophies. It is not that a Madhvacharya started Dvaita philosophy. The human mind thinks, yes, I and God are two separate things. And many of the people who follow the Vaishnava Dharma, they are actually somewhere related to Madhvamati. The great Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had gone to south and stayed in a temple close in Kerala, close to Kanyakumari district. Kanyakumari is a town, a place of pilgrimage, and also district, very green district, and full many temples are there in that. Unfortunately, a lot of conversion has happened there. The Hindus are hardly 55 there, 55% or even less. The Hindus, uh, uh, the Hindus are 45% and Christians are 55%. How it all happened, it's a story to be read. And because they, once the moment they become so, they always try to convert things to their level. They wanted even to rename the district as Kanyakumari. Kanyakumari, the Mary Mother. Anyway, there are many temples there around, if I remember rightly, as one Swamiji who is from that area, he said nearly 700 ancient temples are still there. Now, uh, these three acharyas, they taught these three different schools, and Swamiji says these thoughts have existed even earlier. And in Sri Ramakrishna, we find all the three are harmonized. How they are harmonized? Even before I speak of that, let me say a funny way of putting it. We had one great Swami, Vandanananda Ji Maharaj. He was also the secretary of Delhi Ashrama before Swami Buddhananda Ji came, 1972 to maybe 76 or 77. So he had his own style of, in a lighter way, putting some deep philosophical truth. He said there is a cat and there is a rat. There are two things, Dvaita. There's a cat and there's a rat. And one day the cat ate the rat. So the rat entered the body of the cat. That became Vishishtadvaita. And then cat digested the rat. That is called Advaita. In a lighter way he used to put it, but it's very effective way of saying it. Somehow we were never part different from God. And each one of them are so strong in their philosophical arguments. Each one can prove themselves, I am the right one. So when Swamiji went to Madras, he was speaking about this, and in one meeting he said that, you see, these three are like three stages of evolution. Three stages of evolution, spiritual evolution. First, I feel God and I are, so God is up somewhere high up in the sky. Whenever we want to say, Arey, sab upar wale ki hai. Upar wala somewhere deep into the sky, we don't know where he is. So I am here. So we are two separate beings. That is how we begin a journey. And then we discover, like most of the, even Ramcharitmanas, most of it is the Vashishtadvaita idea is more. That I am eternally part of God. God is not to be seen that He is up there only. He is around me. I am part of that. It's like a big circle you take, then you put a dot. I am part of the circle. I am the dot. But what Vashishtadvaita says is, I still retain my dotness. I am not completely one with the circle, though I am part of the circle. And then you have the great Dvaita, Advaita, which says that circle and the dot were never two things, there is only one. So there are three levels of spiritual evolution, to which one of the Pandits said, where is it written in our scriptures? Show me. Then Swamiji, with a great sense of an assertion, he said, it was left for me and Ramakrishna to prove it, to tell to the bird. And they all got quiet. He had that self-confidence or that intuitive feeling that I am Saying this, it is not something wrong. It is true. And in his Jnana lecture, Swami has explained it. He says the same sun can be seen from different points of angle. Suppose you are deep into the earth, there is a trench or a big mine, you are standing inside and taking a photograph of the sun. You see sun in particular way. Then you come up and you go a few miles up into the sky, and then from there you take the picture of the sun. The same sun now looks differently. Suppose you had the power of traveling much nearer to the sun. You would take the picture of the sun, it will be same sun now having a different picture. The same reality, therefore, can be seen differently. If this is so true in our day-to-day life, why not it be true in our spiritual perception and evolution as well? So this was one thing which you find in the Ramakrishna Vivekananda tradition. That is, you have all the three philosophies having a place there. So you are a Dvaitin, welcome. You are a Vasishtadvaitin, welcome. Advaitin. Ultimately, we must know that we are here to harmonize these philosophies in our life. And famous words of Swamiji, who said that each soul is potentially divine. The goal is to manifest that divinity by controlling nature, internal and external. And do this either by work or worship or philosophy or psychic control, and be free. And finally, he says, this is the whole of religion. Doctrines, dogmas, rituals, temples, they are not but secondary details. The primary detail or primary thing that is to be done is to manifest the divinity within. In that, these four yogas, either by work or worship or psychic control or philosophy. Each of them they are what we said, the four yogas. Work represents. Now, by the way, this is also what the symbol of the Ramakrishna mission generally has it. Here we don't have that symbol. In many places, that logo or emblem is there. We have the. I think I don't have that book here. Otherwise, I can simply show you in a smaller. It's here. Here below one is a black thing. Here we have a snake visible. The snake represents Kundalini Shakti, which means Dhyana Yoga or Raja Yoga. And then you have got these sun. Small lines are there, the sun. Sun represents Jnana Yoga. And we have the lotus below, which represents Bhakti. And water. Water is always turbulent, you see. So water represents Karma Yoga. So Karma, Bhakti, Jnana, and finally Raj Yoga. Together, and in between there is the Hamsa. Hamsa is a symbol in our scriptures which is known to be representation of God. Tanno Hamsa Prachodayat, it is written below. By the combination of any of these or all of these yogas, you can have the vision of God. Tanno Hamsa Prachodayat. Tanno Hamsa Prachodayat is part of Paramahamsa Gayatri, which is part of the Medha Suktam of the Rig Veda. Say Tanno Hamsa Pracho Hamsa Hamsaya Vidmahe Paramahamsaya Dhimahi Tanno Hamsa Prachodayat. I bow down to that. So these four things are presented. This was made by Swami Vivekananda himself. They say himself one day gave this idea that we must have a symbol for the Ramakrishna mission, symbol for our ideal itself. So he made this. I think that speaks of Swamiji's great sense of art also. That he could, put those ideas in the form of a symbol. Now it is there in all Ramakrishna mission publications and also in many buildings. It is also put up there. In Belur Math website, there's a nice article written on this. Returning to our idea of Karma Yoga. So this is the reality, this is the ultimate reality, Parama Apnoti. And he says, Look, Sri Krishna says, karma is such a thing that even how we said it is God Himself who has become kind of the first prime mover. If He does not work, then nothing else will work. He says, Name parthasti kartavyam trishu lokeshu kinchana nanam avaptam avaptavyam varta evacha karmani. Although I, in the three word, have no duties. Sri Krishna is saying I have no duties. Because duties means I lack something. I have to fulfill something. I have to carry on my work because I am part of some obligation. So I have nothing. Because I am Purna. Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate. Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avashishyate. I am complete. I don't have to attain anything. When the whole world is mine, what I have to attain? That is what Krishna's argument is. But still, there is nothing I haven't attained. Trishu lokeshu kincha nanam avaptam avaptavyam. I don't have to attain anything. Yet, varta evacha karmani. I keep doing. I am engaged in action. So, which means if you don't get engaged in action, why should a person would get engaged in action? The previous sloka says this. He says, whatever the best person does, the others follow. In society or in a system, whatever the great man does, ordinary people do that. Yadyada charati shreshta tattat devettaro jana sayat pramanam kurte lokas tadanu vartate. Yadyada charati shreshta. Shresht purush jo kuch karte hai. So whosoever is at the shreshta state, whatever he does, we follow it. You know, once way back in those days when Rajiv Gandhi was the Prime Minister of India, and just then Bofor's thing was coming up and all that. In one bus in which I was traveling, one passenger went to the conductor and said, "Oh, मेरा पैसा है थोड़ा सा जो मैंने तुमको टिकट लिया था, please return the remaining balance." He said, "अरे सर, वो हमारा प्राइम मिनिस्टर इतना खा सकता है, हम इतना नहीं दे सकते." यद्यदा चरति श्रेष्ठः तत्तद् देवेत्तरो जनः. So he had his own understanding of what is to be done. Anyway, Sri Krishna, what he's saying is that if the top person goes wrong, then everything slowly, comes down. If the top person is okay, honest, clear, then its effect is seen in that system. So taking this example into the world, Sri Krishna says, since I am the best here in the world, because he is God himself. So whatever I do, people will follow. So if I stop working, if I don't do any work, which means I just sit down, I have no activity being performed by me, then all people will follow my way only. Mama vartmanu vartante manushyaha partha sarvashaha. See, O Partha, if ever I relax and stop performing action, men will follow my path in every way. Which means they will also not work. So this work thing should not mean that a person is extremely busy. It doesn't mean actually he is all the time doing. What is meant is that he is interested in the welfare of the people. He has to keep the Prakriti moving. If God does not move the Prakriti, then the whole world will come to a standstill. Either it will be all chaos around us. So a simple thing is about sun. If the sun does not rise tomorrow morning, we can expect a catastrophe. Because it is the sun which makes the whole. One of the names for sun is Dinkar, जो दिन को बनाते हैं. If there is no din, there is no raat also. If the night and day this combination is not there, then the whole Prakriti will be shaken up. Whether it is the plants making their food through photosynthesis, or all the biocycles within the body. The daytime it should be like this, noon time it will be like this, evening, say when the sun sets in the brain, certain uh, things are released, indicating now we should sleep. But because of the electricity, we have got uh, light and electricity everywhere. So now our whole life cycle has changed. So we don't respect that. When the sun rises, then we should rise. But we don't rise with the sun now. The sun rises. After that, most of the college students before 8, before 9, I don't know whether they get up. The life has been so much different after the discovery of electricity. But generally speaking, what is to be understood is that the sun is a symbol of God Himself. So if sun stops, the whole activity on the earth will come to an end. Same way, if God stops, then we will find that the whole world has come to an end. So what is to be done? Sri Krishna says, you must keep doing. You must working. You must not say that I will not work. Your purpose of work should undergo a change, not the very idea of work. See, Holy Mother Sarda Devi was quite old when she passed away. A few years before her passing away, one day she was seen in Jairambati in her house. It's a village house. So she was having some paddy and she was working on that paddy. She had a big stick and that hitting it, allowing the paddy to come out. Seeing her doing this, one, I think a devotee or a sannyasi, he said, Mother, you are still working at this age? She said, yes, my son, please bless me. May I keep working till the end. And it really happened. She continued working till the end. Of all the three, she lived the longest. Mother lived for 67 years, Sri Ramakrishna lived for 50 years, and Swamiji for 39 and a half years. She lived the longest. Of course, her own life is a wonderful example as to how to live life. How to, she had so many things in the life which had happened, there was poverty, there was, so to say, death of her husband, she was lonely, all those things which we might consider, which can make somebody depressed. But no, she continued with her spiritual practices and spiritual ministration till the end. So we might, say Ramakrishna Mission and Swami Vivekananda, but it is she who is at the core of the Ramakrishna Mission. It is her blessings, it is her grace, it is her prayer for the mission that actually brought the mission into existence. And it is her prayers which are continuing, and her blessings. If a person understands the place and her power in the Ramakrishna mission, then you have made quite a clear understanding of what Ramakrishna mission is. So her own life was a wonderful example of that. How Gita's Karma Yoga is to be done. Karma does not always mean doing something flamboyant, something extraordinarily very big. One need not think in those terms. Whatever level in which a person is working, giving up all those desires, all those hankerings, pure way of doing one's work, that is what creates a person, fit to be called as karma yogi. The morning I was speaking about karma plus karta. That there is a karma that is happening, that and sense of karta. As long as I have got a sense of karta, I will have the problem of karma being accumulated in myself. If the kartapan, the agentship goes away, then the karma does not any longer bind me. This is one secret of Karma Yoga. In the Gita, we have this shloka which says this: Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashah ahankara vimoodatma kartaham iti manyate. It's a very practical shloka. Prakrite kriyamanani. Gunaihi, those gunas which come from the Prakriti, which means the threefold Prakriti. All action is completed in every way through the qualities of the nature. Gunaihi karmani sarvasha. All the karmas are happening because of the presence of the three gunas. Ahankara vimudhatma kartaham iti manyate. But one who is having the ahankara, he thinks, I am the karta. Once one of our monks shared this following experience. He was busy doing a lot of construction, repair, etc. After years of that work, one day he was sitting and he was thinking, how did this all happen? Now, this can happen, the same thinking can be applied in other similar circumstances, including here. So he said that I was thinking, how did it all happen? Suppose this whole center is made. For that you need earth. A larger way of thinking. First of all, it is happening on earth, Prithvi. If Prithvi is not there, how can I build this center? How can I do I can have an ashram or a house. And earth is not mine, it is Prakriti. So first of all, I understand it's all Prakriti which is creating this kind of stage. And then various materials with which things are done. Those things are also from Prakriti only, whether it is cement or bricks or paint or steel or any of these false ceilings, anything. It's all come from the Prakriti only. And then, did I create them? I did not create them. And what about the resources which were required to buy them, to mobilize them? Those too are also from the Prakriti. All right, there have been supporters, there have been donors, there are kind-hearted people, there are people who are interested in your work, and so they come forward and give it. So that also is not mine. And who made it? There was engineers, there was workers, there were masons. They put it together. So everything is done by Prakriti. I am only, trying to put the things together. That's it. I am only my instrument. It all happened because of the larger thing that is taking place. So why should I take a credit for all this? If I take a credit, then he says, Ahankara vimudhatma kartahamiti manyate. One who is ahankari. In the beginning of the Shankar Bhashya, Acharya Shankar makes a statement. He says, what we call as karma or samsara? Karma or samsara? He says, kratritva bhoktritva buddhi iti samsara. Because the samsara will continue to exist. Kratritva and bhoktritva, they are always together. What is kratritva? It means karta. I am the doer. Along with that, the idea of bhoktritva. I am the enjoyer of the fruits of action. When both these go together, so I am not able to get out of the cycle of karma. In order to come out of the cycle of karma, I offer both to the Lord. I say, yes, here it is both unto you. Then I am freed. Otherwise, the karma, gahana karmano gati, you do some karma thinking now you are doing karma yoga, but it may become karma bhoga. More karma is created out of it. You think that you will become free by doing action, but unless you have that understand, the same will bind you further. It will create more karma. So it's a very slippery path. You can be caught anywhere. So this shloka is to be kept in mind that prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha ahankar vimudhatma kartahamiti manyate. Another thing he says in this context, he says, look, sadrisham cheshtate swasya prakriter jnanavanapi prakritim yanti bhutani nigraha kim karishyati. All of us are acting as per our nature. Swasyaha prakritim yanti bhutani. Swasyaha prakritim yanti bhutani. Nature drives all being. Why should one have any use restraint? Which means wherever we are, say Arjuna was a Kshatriya. He says his Kshatriya nature will drive him. It's not so easy to restrain ourselves. We have had so many years of association with certain works. That is how our Prakriti is made. See, there are two things. One is our essential divine nature, that is unaffected by all this. But there is another which is not a divine nature, which is what we have built up over the years of experience, which means years of not only in this birth, several births we have liked things like that. So we develop a certain inclination, certain way of doing things. And so to overcome them, to come out of them is not easy. In the morning I was mentioning about there is the idea of rebirth, Punarjanma. In our famous Gita Press publications, there was a whole complete issue, maybe of some 500 pages, uh, on Punarjanma, what is said in the Puranas, Smritis, and Upanishads. It's a very good compilation by different authors as to what is to be understood as Punarjanma. Now, is there any proof for Punarjanma? This is so many things have been documented actually. In way back, Swami Satprakashananda ji, who was the founder, Swamiji of the Delhi ashram, Satprakashananda ji, he has a little book. Later on, he was in US. He was in St. Louis, where now Swami Chetanand ji Maharaj is there. So Satprakashanji's little booklet, he has mentioned about one Shanti Devi, who was born in Delhi, a young girl, who used to recall her birth that she was actually born in Mathura, and how with a committee of people she was taken there, and she recognized her house, she recognized people who were around her, even she recognized her son. She was a little girl and the son is a grown-up man. This is my son previously. And then I think when she sees her husband, she becomes, she withdraws herself. So this is one incident, and there is Ian Stevenson's famous book, 19 Cases of Reincarnation of Man. Like that, many books have come. There is also Gina Cerimona's many mentions of Edgar Casey. That also speaks of it. So the idea of Punarjanma, although we don't go too much into it and emphasize, because sometimes people get caught there. Then all right, tell me about Punarjanma. What was my earlier Janma? Immediately we want to get into that. But it is God's infinite grace that we forget all our past memories. Because if we have that, even this Janma's memories are enough to make our enough strong to make our mind restless or worried. Oh, this happened and that happened. And if two more births memories are added to those memories, we will be in great difficulty. We will not be able to manage. So Lord helps us by erasing all that. But the tendencies that we have got through that, they are very much there. In that book, there was a very interesting incident which I just referred to, the book published by Gita Press. That once there was a man who had built up a huge, beginning with small, humble beginning. He had a small shop which he later made into a big house. Below was running, he used to get rice and paddy and wheat and other things and sell it to the other people. It's like a agency he had. And slowly, as the days by, the business grew, and then in due course he died. Then his son was there, he started sitting on that gaddi, which is the person who was selling that. One day his son is sitting and um, one goat comes. Goat wants to eat that grain. First it is shooed away, it doesn't go. Then again, when it is putting her mouth on those grains, this boy, he has a stick with a small pinching iron rod comes protruding out. So she hits on that, and then finally, with great pain, she runs away. The goat runs away. Seeing this, a sage who was passing by, he tells, "Look at this wonder. Here was this man who built up this whole business, and later on, now his son is looking after it. Now that man is born in the form of a goat. He comes here and he gets this kind of beating and he has to go away." So, our previous life, how it will get converted into the present life's what situation, it is very hard to say. All that we need to practically understand is, in this life, let us try to do our best to make our own spiritual progress happen. For that, we have this ideal of Atmano Mokshartham Jagathitaya. This is the ideal which I think we should all try to practice in our lives. Atmano Mokshartham, that I try to do my own spiritual practices, and Jagathitaya cha. Because these two things are always there with us. My own spiritual practice, I am living in a world. So, how I should live in such a world that I think of the good of others, try to help others. I know there are a lot of challenges. There are challenges in doing good to others. It's not easy that I think of doing good to others and there are people waiting for me to do good to them. There could be a lot of fake people around me. There could be people who are, not the worthy recipients. I may get stuck in something. Swami Virajanandaji Maharaj, was sixth president of the Ramakrishna Mission. He used to say that if our immature mind, the mind which has not been fully refined by spiritual practices, if an immature mind takes up to doing good to others, he builds up maybe some organization, he builds up a system. After some time, you will find his own immature mind starts creating problems. There will be too much of hatred, jealousy, anger, hankering for recognition, all these things coming up in between. And the result would be that he would get caught in those lower tendencies and the whole thing will collapse. So unless there is a proper uh, spiritual progress and spiritual base, we cannot actually carry on doing good to others also properly in a right spirit. After some times problem comes, not immediately. So Atmano Mokshartham and Jagat Hitaya, that way they are interrelated, they are connected with each other. So about this Punarjanma, this is what I thought I will just refer to, that these ideas have been not just an imaginary thing that there is a Punarjanma. There has to be a continuation. Suppose a person has got a particular action and earlier some karmas which he is working out, but then suddenly, as per his earlier action which would lead to how long his life should be, he will die. He leaves his body. And what about the actions which have been left unreaped? Then he has to take another birth to reap those results. And there in the process, he might accumulate more actions, more karmas there. So that is how this whole thing continues. This is also known as the Bhavasagara. You see, na, Khanda Bhavasagara Taranaka. This is the Bhavasagara. It is here, chain after chain, it goes on and on. To come out of it, one has to break where? In the 15th chapter of the Gita, Sri Krishna says, Asanga Shastrena Dridhena Chitva. Asanga Shastra. Asanga means detachment. This is one quality which is universally emphasized by all spiritual teachers. Asanga. Sri Ramakrishna's gospel, you will find so many times. He says, you carry on your work, but be detached. Be detached. Be detached. He gives the example of in the house there is a housemaid, who says, this is mine, this is mine. And then one fine day when she is dismissed, she can't carry anything with him. Another person who looks after a garden, in that garden, he says, this is my, I am taking care. And then for some reason, the manager or the owner of the garden says, no, I dismiss you. Then he says he can't take even a box made of mango wood, which is supposed to be cheap wood. A box made of mango wood he cannot carry with him. There's an interesting story. With that, I will close this session. Of course, the tea is yet to come. Another few minutes he will come. There was this man, a carpenter, who had been working for a person. He was very devoted. For decades he had worked. And then one day the time came, he became old, he is not able to give the work with as much efficiency as earlier. He went to his owner and said, sir, now I cannot work. This is my condition, this I had to need to retire. Because of his sincerity, the owner was very much pleased. So he said, I must give him some last work. He said, last one work is there, can you do it? He says, can you make a house, a wooden house? He gives him all specifications. He gives him all the details of how and where to be done. And he does it. He takes it up. He starts making it. After a month or so, he says, sir, the house is ready. Then he goes and inspects and takes the key of the house and gives it to him. Now you keep it. Thing is, the man, because he was tired by that time, he thought somehow I have to finish this work. He did not do a quality work at all. So whatever he had done, it came to him only. If he had, if he had known this is actually meant for me only, maybe he would not have got caught in that thinking. He might have done it in a much better way. So this story illustrates how we ultimately reap whatever karmas we do, it come back to us only. Nobody else gets the results. We are the people who sow and we are the people who reap. Others seem to be playing a role around us, but they are only having a very limited role. It is our own actions, our own things which will come back to us. So with this I close. If you have any question, we'll welcome. Yes.
I don't know, it's a complete question. I was just wondering that the pillar of all the pillars of our philosophy, freedom from life, if we, for example, for some reason, and a lot of it, also kind of matches with global other philosophies that are there. Right? We probably do not believe the exact details, but ultimately take the first good and bad, cause and effect. They're there. The law of reincarnation, one of them is something that is very unique to
Right.
Other. So, of course, there is an element of belief also. Either they are right or we are right. So, what I was wondering is, does the law of karma depend irrevocably on the law of
Reincarnation.
Or if you just say, okay, I don't know about reincarnation, but can the rest of it exist by itself? Even if there is no
Problem is, if I believe in the law of karma, and if my karma ends in this life without having reaped my full actions, where it will go? That is why the question of rebirth comes. They may not believe it, they may not speak much about it, but it's a fact actually. Because when the rishis will speak, the idea of reincarnation is given to us by rishis. They will not tell anything which is untrue. about Swami Vivekananda. Whenever he says something, Swami Ashokananda ji used to say, Swami Vivekananda and Ramakrishna, they were one of the most truthful men ever born. If they say this, it is so. They are not polishing, they are not putting things in poetry. They are telling you the truth. So, same way, this should be true. The rishis are also very truthful people. One small thing is there. You have rightly said that other systems also may believe in it. So this question is raised by Swami Ashokananda. I have read quite a bit of Swami Ashokananda, that's why I am referring to him. I would recommend everyone who is interested, because he was a deep thinker around 50 years, 60 years back. In US he passed away. So Ashokanji was a person when he was getting, shifted from India to America in 1930s. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan had said, India's one of the most original thinker is now going away. So he says, look, sometimes we ask the question, if the idea of Kundalini is true, on the same way, if this we are discussing, why is it not seen by or spoken of by other traditions? If all traditions are spiritual, they are also making their spiritual struggles, their experiences, but they are not speaking about Kundalini, but we are speaking about Kundalini. I would add to that we are speaking about reincarnation, they are not speaking about reincarnation. To which his answer is this. You see, when you travel from one person to one point of, say, place to another point, you may travel just like that, or you may travel observing everything very carefully. Hindu mind, the Rishi's mind, was one of the most observant minds. They will observe everything very carefully around, and they have documented it. They have said it to it. Whereas the others also have experienced it. They have reached that goal, but they have not experienced what happens on the road, on the journey. Our details of what is happening in the journey around are plenty. So reincarnation is also one such detail. Suppose I have done one karma that I have a desire for eating rasgulla, but I die without eating rasgulla. Then I have to be reborn even for just to fulfill that desire for rasgulla. We do not know how else you will explain that desire should be fulfilled except by saying that he is reborn. He has to assume another body to continue that. That is why we believe in the idea of reincarnation. It is so strong. Only thing, we don't get into that idea of, some spooky things are there. Some people say, I'll read your past life. I will tell you this. We need not go for all those things. We should keep away from that. Yes, there may be something I did not worry about it. Once when Holy Mother Sri Sharda Devi was unwell, whatever she will utter, there are not many upadeshas she has given. But one day when she was being troubled by Radhu was madcap, a little girl. You know her story. The end of the Radhu's life is very interesting. Anyway, so she was troubling mother so much. And mother, what she says? Maybe, perhaps I once worshipped Lord Shiva with Bilva, which had some thorn in it. That is why I got this.
Somebody asked, oh, I have done nothing wrong, why I am suffering in this life?
Right, that also.
And we complain, oh, what I have done, I have done no wrong to anyone, still I am suffering.
Now I saw another one example. One Swami, a very well-known person, to him, a couple came with them, and 5-year-old child was there. They said, Swamiji, this boy is having cancer. Now, what karma he has done to get this disease at this age? Then that Swamiji said, your seeing only this 5 years. Actually, he is a jiva who has traveled from one life to another life to another life. His past life's actions he is now reaping in this life. Though his body is of a baby, but the results are from the past life. You are saying something?
Swamiji said that when we chant mantra, practice a mantra chanting, it significantly lessens karmic retribution. In some cases, it also helps eradicate bad karma. Can you elaborate on that?
Holy Mother has said this. She says that prarabdha is very much reduced by repetition of God's name. And she says, suppose there was a prarabdha karma that you had to have a strike by a sword, maybe your foot may get even amputated or some such thing, or say it had to get very badly injured because of some karma. But if you have repeated God's name, it will reduce the intensity to such an extent there will be only a small pinprick. So how this power of mantra works, at what level we do not know, but it works. It works. How prarabdha can be reduced? Not that you can get rid of prarabdha completely, but they say prarabdha can be reduced by repeat, because God's name has got tremendous power in it. And those spiritual practices, they have an impact on whatever karma that we have got. One interesting incident I will tell. Now tea has come. There was one disciple of Holy Mother, I think Swami Ishanandaji perhaps. And he was a boy who had come from the same area where Jairam Bhatti was there. And he later became very close to Mother. He became a brahmachari. He grew up, he used to wear the white dress of a brahmachari. He would serve her. It already was 10 years. In the Ramakrishna mission tradition, generally a person becomes a monk. So about 9 years minimum, sometimes 10, 12 more also. He is given sannyasa vows. So he had completed so many years. There were other brahmacharis in Jairam Bhatti who had completed there so many years and who wanted to take sannyas, because after all that's how they have come. That's why they wanted sannyas. That's why they have come. But they had to wait for 10 years because that is the tradition. See, so they said, we will ask Swami Brahmanji Maharaj. We will apply to him because he is the president of the order. And they had applied. Seeing this young brahmachari, who also was actually eligible for that, but he was not finding courage because he had been serving Mother. But one day he told Mother. Mother said, no, you don't do that. You don't apply for that. Because now you are a brahmachari, I can take seva from you. Then once you put on the gerua, it will be hard for me to take seva from you. So you keep quiet. All right. But just after a few days, Mother calls him out of nowhere and says, no, you go and take sannyas. Now he couldn't understand. But then he didn't ask any question, he went. And in due course, he was initiated into sannyas. When he came back, Mother told him the secret. The secret was, Mother saw that there was a Mrityu Yoga for him. And Mrityu Yoga means now he has to die. But sannyasa is also considered a kind of Mrityu. Says you take sannyas, that Mrityu Yoga will get over. You will continue your life also. What a remarkable reading of life she had. So mantras, the guru, and these things, they have their power. They do change a person's. If it was all we were so helpless, then there will be no place for any spiritual practices. There must be some place for that. We'll meet after tea.